added that teledensity, the number of active telephone connections per 100 inhabitants living within an area, grew from 102.40% in December 2021 to 103.46% in January 2022. The data further revealed that the number of internet subscribers grew by 1,588,493 from 141,617,023 in December 2021 to 143,205,506 in January 2022. Commenting on the growth to our correspondent, the president of the National Association of Telecom Subscribers, Adeolu Ogunbanjo, said the recent growth being witnessed in the sector was as a result of the extension of the deadlines of the National Identification Number Subscriber Identity Module Data Verification exercise. He added that those 2 million new subscribers would have undergone the process of SIM-NIN linkages. Ogunbanjo said these 2 million would not have been added to the database at all if the recent extension did not happen. He opined that subscribers should be encouraged to do the SIM-NIN linkage at their pace by leaving it open-ended. The World Bank says the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, will receive the sum of 1.1 billion naira out of the $117 million budgeted for the COVID-19 project by the World Bank Group and its development partners. The fund is meant to help the FCT to recover from the impact of COVID-19 on its economy. World Bank consultant and coordinator of the Nigeria COVID-19 Action Recovery Economic Stimulus Program, Professor Okumade Oni, disclosed this at a stakeholders meeting in Abuja. These were contained in a statement by the head, Public Relations Unit, Economic Planning, Revenue Generation, and Public-Private Partnership Secretariat, FCTA, Nacho Kafur, on Wednesday. The World Bank Program Coordinator announced that the FCT administration was billed to receive the sum of 1.1 billion naira out of the $117 million budgeted for the COVID-19 project by the World Bank Group and its development partners. Oni further disclosed that a total of 35.3 billion naira had already been disbursed through results-based disbursement-linked indicators, DLI, advances to all the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT, representing an average of 500 million to 1.3 billion naira per state within the month of February 2022. He emphasized that the project was particularly aimed to assist the FCT to recover from the effects of COVID-19, especially those who were negatively impacted by the pandemic. He said that the ELI project would be implemented in 3 result-based areas, which include increased social transfers, provision of social services and livelihood support to the poor and vulnerable households. The statement added that other areas of implementation include increased food security and safe functioning of the food supply chain, as well as facilitating the recovery and enhancing the capacity of micro and small-scale enterprises across the 36 states and the FCT. Oni also noted that the World Bank had ratified the eligibility of the FCT to participate in the NG Cares program, having met the necessary conditions. The chairman of the FCT NG Cares Implementation Committee and Mandate Secretary, FCTA Economic Planning, Revenue Generation, and Public-Private Partnership Secretariat, Agbola Dabiri, expressed hope that the FCT and other participating states would leverage on the mission to improve the NG Cares system and processes for its full implementation, as well as address some challenges associated with the World Bank Assessment Report. We'll take yet another break and return in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is Business Roundup on Atlantic Television Network. The Federation Account Allocation Committee, FARC, has shared the sum of 590.546 billion naira to the three tiers of government in February, representing an increase of 15.8 billion naira when compared to the 574.7 billion naira distributed in January. Last month, it was reported that FARC allocation to the three tiers of government fell to a four-year low in January. However, the communique issued at the end of the virtual meeting for FARC for March 2022, held on Tuesday, revealed that allocation to the federal government, states, and local governments rose to 590.54 billion naira in February. The 590.54 billion naira comprises statutory revenue of 337.43 billion naira, value-added tax revenue of 165.63 billion naira, excess bank charges of 7.47 billion naira, and non-mineral revenue of 80 billion naira. It added that the total deduction for the cost of collection to revenue generating agencies was 23.98 billion naira, while the deduction for statutory transfers and refund was put at 80.49 billion naira. The balance in the excess crude account was $35.371 million. The communique confirmed that from the total distributable revenue of 590.54 billion naira, the federal government received 236.1 billion naira. The state government got 190 billion naira, and the local government councils received 140.6 billion naira. A total of 23.75 billion naira was shared to the relevant states as 13% derivation revenue. The distributable statutory revenue of 337.43 billion naira was available for the month. From these, the federal government received 165.2 billion naira, the state governments got 83.8 billion naira, and local government councils received 64.61 billion naira. The sum of 23.75 billion naira was shared with the relevant states as 13% derivation. The Nigeria Customs Service Ogun 1 Area Command, IDIROCO, has announced it intercepted 5,420 bags of foreign parboiled rice and other contraband with a duty-paid value, DPV, of 143.91 million within the last 33 days. In a statement signed by the command's public relations officer, Hamid Oloyede, the new customs area controller in charge of the command, Comptroller Bamidele Makinde, said amongst the items seized included 5,420 bags of foreign parboiled rice of 50 kg each, which equals to 9 full trailer load of rice, 133 sacks and 181 wraps of cannabis sativa, 18 units of vehicles comprising 13 units of conveyance and 5 units of foreign but used vehicles, including a 2018 model of Range Rover, 25 liters each of 13 kegs of vegetable oil, 8 bales of 19 small sack bags, and 2 sacks of second-hand clothing. Also seized were 25 sacks and 4 bags of used shoes, 880 cartons of frozen poultry products, 26,725 liters of PMS in 1,069 kegs of 25 liters equivalent. The total duty paid value of the items and others is 143.91 million naira. According to him, the command was able to achieve this as a result of collaborative efforts between security operatives at the border. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, on Wednesday in Abuja approved 92.12 billion naira for the construction of a second runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. This came barely 24 hours after President Muhammadu Buhari, while inaugurating the new terminal building at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, directed the Finance Minister, Dr. Zainab Ahmed, to source special funding for the project. The Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, disclosed to State House correspondents after a virtual council meeting of FEC presided over by the President at the council chambers of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Sirika noted that the contract was divided into 5 lots and would be completed in 12 months. He said Lot A has the construction of the runway, taxiways, links, fencing of the operation areas of that particular runway. not the entire port. Internal perimeter, crash roads, services and drainages awarded to Messrs Civil Engineering Construction Company Limited, CECC, at the sum of 72 billion naira. 72,341,479,217 naira 22 kobo. He noted that Lot B of the contract was for the construction of a water pumping station with reservoir water supply reticulation and firefighting hydrants. The contract for this lot was awarded to Messrs Trimirak Engineering Services Limited for 1 billion naira, 789,374,587 naira 50 kobo. He further explained that Lot C is for the procurement and installation of airfield lighting, navigational aids, communication and meteorological equipment, procurement, installation and training. This, he said, was for the sum of 10.5 billion naira. For Lot D, a contract was awarded for the provision of power supply, high voltage, medium voltage, low voltage, and tertiary, including construction of power stations with AFL switch room. The project was awarded in the sum of 6.8 billion naira. Sirica stated that Lot E, which is for procurement, inauguration, as well as training, would gob 712.6 million naira. Quizzed about the government strategy for the raising of funds for the Mammoth projects, the aviation minister said the regime would explore the same avenues it had used to raise funding for similar projects. Also, the council approved over 14 billion naira to train 50,000 non-graduates of NPower for 9 months. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Farouk, who revealed this to State House correspondents, explained that over 14 billion naira would be used to engage 4 federal government agencies to train non-graduates for 9 months. Farouk added that at the end of the exercise, the 50,000 trainees would be handed starter packs to begin their businesses. Also speaking was the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, who said the Council approved the Business Facilitation and Miscellaneous Provision Bill to consolidate the reforms and enhance productivity and value. Malami explained that the bill was part of the government's efforts to sustain the legacies achieved through the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. He noted that the bill will be forwarded to the National Assembly for consideration. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, says Nigeria and other sub-Saharan African countries experience a 1/3 of the world's drought and are vulnerable to rising temperatures and extreme weather as a result of their dependence on the rain-fed agriculture. It added that a single drought can lower a country in the region's medium-term economic growth potential by 1%. It disclosed these in a blog post published on Wednesday titled "Poor and Vulnerable Countries Need Support to Adapt to Climate Change." The Washington-based lender said long-term savings from the investment in resilience and coping mechanisms such as better irrigation, improved seed varieties, strengthened health systems, and greater access to finance and telecommunications can be very significant. This, he said, was especially true for sub-Saharan Africa, which experiences 1/3 of the world's drought and is particularly vulnerable to rising temperatures and extreme weather because of its dependence on rain-fed agriculture. According to the IMF, research shows that a single drought can lower an African country's medium-term economic growth potential by 1%, adding that adapting to new climatic changes will help a nation address risk from climate change and extreme weather, and in the process, safeguard agriculture, manage the impact of rising seas, and make infrastructure more resilient. It said the benefits of investing in adaptation are not confined to sub-Saharan Africa. Countries in all regions of the world can benefit from adapting to a hotter planet. Yet, it said, this does not mean adaptation can replace mitigation, as without strong mitigation, it will be impossible to stabilize global temperature and adaptation would become impossibly expensive. The fund said the cost of public adaptation would reach around 0.25% of global gross domestic products per year in the coming decades. It added that the annual needs would exceed 1% of the GDP in about 50 low-income and developing economies for the next 10 years. According to the IMF, countries that need to adapt the most to climate change lack the means to do so. The chairman of the Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Victor Murwako, has called on the federating states to domesticate the fiscal responsibility law. Speaking with the news agency of Nigeria on Wednesday in Abuja, Murwako noted that it became imperative to adopt this policy in order to consolidate the sterling principles of accountability and transparency in fiscal operations and within a viable framework. The Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 is primarily designed to checkmate wastages and corruption whilst ensuring accountability in the management of public finance. Murwako, who cited the adoption of the policy in Sokoto following its safe passage into law in 2020, also disclosed the Commission's readiness to providing technical assistance to the federating states who had been properly engaged in the necessity of incorporating the fiscal responsibility policy into the state laws. He, however, expressed concern over the non-establishment of fiscal responsibility agencies in some states that have adopted the law, claiming the Commission would not take a chill pill on pressing further to see to a streamlined fulfillment of this preposterous policy in the interest of national financial security. We'll take yet another break and return in a moment. Don't go away. You're welcome back to Business Roundup on Atlantic Television Network. The Presidential Amnesty Program has raised the alarm over the activities of illegal crude oil refineries in the Niger Delta region, describing it as a dangerous trend. According to the organization, the domestic refining of crude oil by artisans in host communities had grave health and environmental implications for the country. The federal government had also said that Nigeria lost 53 million barrels of oil worth over $2 billion in the past due to informal crude oil refineries. The National Coordinator of Presidential Amnesty Program, Colonel Millard Dicko, retired, issued the warning during the second edition of the stakeholders' engagement on the integration of modular artisanal refinery operation in the oil and gas sector in Abuja. The event was organized by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs with the theme, Current Challenges of Revenue Loss, Petroleum Product Scarcity, Environmental Pollution, and Negotiated Way Out. DQ also encouraged all stakeholders to set aside their differences and support efforts to save not only the environment, but also the country's economy. He warned that things could get worse in Nigeria if urgent and systemic steps were not taken to contain the effects of informal crude oil refining. The Executive Secretary, Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NATE, Dr. Oji Ogbonnaya Oji, said that Nigeria lost about $2 billion worth of crude oil in the recent past due to the activities of informal modular refinery operators. He, however, said Nigeria's challenges in that regard were surmountable through policy measures that would fully integrate them into the mainstream oil and gas industry. Oji said harmonizing and backing modular refineries with policy will reduce or eliminate pipeline vandalism, check oil theft, and save the nation from revenue loss. Oji said that the NATE would support any measure to stop crude oil theft and losses, as well as liberalize the industry to create more jobs for the youths. The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, said ongoing efforts to ensure that artisanal crude oil refiners were absorbed into the formal sector would get the backing of the federal government because of the multiplier effect on the nation's revenue base. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Itaina, said that the government had lost so much money to oil thieves, stressing that it was high time the country regularized modular refinery operators to save the economy. He also said that the Russia-Ukraine war had created opportunities for the nation's energy sector, hence the need for all players to be brought on in order for Nigeria to take full advantage of the rising global demand for oil. Other speakers at the event include the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Efurun Delta State, Professor Apofure Rimroke, the Executive Director of Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center, Fine Phase Dum Namene Fine Phase, amongst others. They advised the federal government to scale up the local technology of informal crude oil refineries, train and integrate the operators into the mainstream. According to him, this would be a sustainable response to the disruptions caused by the activities. Fine Phase called on the security and paramilitary agencies to do more to checkmate illegal bunkering of petroleum products out of Nigeria. The Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, on Wednesday said the state was ready to partner with the federal government and other investors on gas exploration. Uzodimma also said that the sector would increase youth employment and economic growth of the state. The governor, who was represented by his deputy, Professor Placid Njoku, said these at a 3-day sensitization forum for stakeholders organized by the Gas Monitoring Committee of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission in Owerri, the Imo State capital. He said that the state was ready to harness its potential for the growth of the state, adding that the state has the largest deposit of natural gas globally. Uzodimma restates his commitment to harnessing the resources in order to build a strong economic base for the state, as well as create an enabling employment for the youths. Corroborating Uzodimma's statistics on gas deposits in the state, the chairman of the Gas Monitoring Committee, Patrick Mbebu, noted that Nigeria has more gas deposits than oil. He pointed out that the state is one of the largest producers of the product and has the capacity of hosting major gas investments of the Federation. Uzodimma said Nigeria has set the ambitious goal of remaking its natural gas industry in the coming decade, hoping to use its abundant gas resources to power its fast-growing economy, as well as benefiting from a growth export business. To succeed, it will require foreign capital-friendly policies and government-industry cooperation. He added that it was hoped that Imo State will provide the enabling environment for the potential investors so that the inherent potential of gas as the catalyst for achieving economic diversification is fully achieved. The Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamileko Adegbite, has said Nigeria lacks adequate geosciences data, which has limited investments in the mining sector across the country. Adegbite said this in Abuja on Tuesday at the stakeholders' validation exercise on the field research in the areas of mining, engineering, metrology, and mineral processing, geological mapping, industrial and mineral utilization, exports, and energy minerals. The The minister, however, said efforts are ongoing by the federal government to ensure the availability of this data in order to boost mining investment and operations in the country. He added that if 142.6 million naira was shared among 14 tertiary institutions in Nigeria to conduct research on mineral deposits. According to the minister, the sum was shared among the beneficiary institutions for research development in various areas relating to mapping and evaluation of particular mineral deposits. The minister further said that institutions that benefited from the research grants were carefully selected by an independent faculty of erudite professors. The tertiary institutions that participated in the exercise included the University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, University of Port Harcourt, University of Jos, Ebonyi State University, Nasarawa State University, and the Kaduna Polytechnic. Finally, the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum on Wednesday said the revenue leakage happening in Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited were as a result of President Muhammadu Buhari continued oversight of the portfolio of Minister of Petroleum Resources. This is as they called for the urgent separation of the two portfolios. The governors disclosed these in a communique issued after their meeting in Aba, Abia State. The communique read by the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum and governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, noted that the NNPC deducts 8.33 billion naira monthly for the rehabilitation of the refineries in Nigeria, but no refineries working to date. They also noted that the NNPC deducted 788.78 billion naira for various investments between 2018 to 2021 for priority projects in the oil and gas sector without recourse to the Federation Account Allocation Committee. PDP Governors Forum therefore rejected claims by the NNPC that it paid about 1 trillion naira in petroleum subsidy in 1 year. The PDP governors also criticized the NNPC for failing to meet up with its statutory contributions to the Federation accounts despite selling crude oil for $110. According to them, it is patently unconstitutional for the NNPC to determine at its own whim and discretion when and what to pay to the Federation account, as it is a mere trustee of the funds for the three tiers of government, federal, state, and local governments. They once again called for the investigation and audits of the quantity of consumption of fuel ascribed to Nigerians and for the deployment of technology at the filling stations to determine transparently the volume of consumption. They added that the governors would resist any further attempt by the NNPC to ascribe unsustainable subsidy claims to other tiers of government. At the meeting, the governors raised their alarm over various reports of crude oil theft ranging from 80% to 95% of the output industry stakeholders. They therefore urged the federal government to set up a robust mechanism to stop this occurrence and punish those found guilty. And with that, we wrap it up on Business Roundup for today. Join us tomorrow for another edition, or follow Atlantic Television Network on all social media platforms. My name is Nyam Gul Agaji. Thanks for being there.